listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location from Cinemajaw Studios in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Rye the Movie Guy, and sitting over to my left is KP.
Hello, boys.
This week on Cinemajaw, we got two big reviews for you. I saw the TV Glow and the new Amy Winehouse biopic, Back to Black.
All right. That's a 1-2 punch.
It is. Instead of doing a top five, we have decided to do best worst.
I like these.
Yeah, we picked different categories.
Keeps it fresh, Ryan.
Right.
Yeah.
And so our categories for best worst this week are...
We have best worst Viggo Mortensen movies, musician biopics, and teen angst horror. Not necessarily in that order.
Right. Tough ones to come up with best and worst on some of these.
Maybe all of them, honestly. Yeah, this was one of the more challenging best worst. And it's only two movies you got to pick.
Right.
It was hard.
But for instance, when you do teen angst horror, which we're doing in honor of TV Glow, you start looking at those. They're all very cherished movies, a lot of them. And so to pick one that says, that was just bad is actually difficult to do.
And the problem is that I ran into is even when they are bad, that's kind of what makes them charming. Mm-hmm. So they were meant to be bad on some level.
Correct.
So, yeah, tough categories, Rye.
For sure. Obviously, as we're doing best worst Viggo Mortensen, we're still celebrating Viggo this month. And since we don't have a guest joining us, we are going to play Viggo Mortensen movie trivia when it comes to Stump the Kubinski.
I'm dead. As I was trying to research his best worst, I realized I have some Viggo blind spots.
And I even knew, because we were doing best worst Viggo, I thought, well, Matt's looking at this list. I can't just make it like name the movie, blah, 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 because he's been looking at this list. So I thought I got to ask a little bit more interesting questions.
I'm dead.
That's the trivia question writer I am.
I'm dead. I'm just dead in the water.
Just dead in the water.
Just dead in the water. If we're doing a bet this week, I'll bet against myself.
That's shenanigans.
No, I'll still play my best.
You're going to flop.
I ain't no shoeless Joe.
Hey, I'm glad you brought this up because if you'll recall, last week on the Jaw, we were having a couple of sodas, adult sodas, beers that is, and you had said, I'll buy you the round if we go out. Here's what happened, Jawheads.
I think I bought a round.
Yeah. He bought a round. Now, mind you, I brought a six-pack to the recording. We went out to one bar, Smith & Walensky.
No, it was Gene and Giorgetti's.
Oh, sorry, yes, that's what I meant, Gene and Giorgetti's. I knew it was a steakhouse. Went to Gene and Giorgetti's, and Matt did buy a round. But then we continued on to another bar in which we had two rounds, and I bought those. So I still came out one round short on the night.
Yeah, you definitely did, and a six-pack. And the funny thing is the round that we bought at Gene and Giorgetti's was heavily discounted. Because I knew the bartender.
Oh, my God.
Heavily discounted. But then again, to be fair, we also got a pretty good discount at the next place.
Yes. Yeah.
So I say we make that same route tonight.
Yeah, I'm not against it.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, let's get the Jaw rolling then. If we're going out drinking again, we better get started right away.
This is going to be the shortest episode yet, guys.
Let's kick it off with the Viggo fact.
Yes, Matt, and this is intentionally in your honor. Since we are betting against you, this is going to help you, I hope. Ryan, I'm sorry if this gives away gives him the advantage. But our Viggo fact today, what would you guys say is Viggo's most notable role? Just shot in the dark. Shot in the dark.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Lord of the Rings.
Absolutely. Aragorn.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you guys were going to say Hidalgo. This is completely shocking to me. So, yes, it is Aragorn. And would you believe that almost didn't happen? Okay, so Peter Jackson had originally wanted Daniel Day-Lewis.
Daniel Day.
As Aragorn? Yeah. I can see it.
Dan Lewis himself.
Danny.
But Daniel Day turned it down. And then Stuart Townsend was cast after that, officially cast. At the time, Stuart was 27, looked very young, even by 27-year-old standards. And the casting directors had not particularly liked that from the start. Peter Jackson really wanted Townsend as the second runner-up. Even, flew him out to New Zealand to do a screen test, slightly grayed up his hair a little bit, really did the whole thing up. A day before production started, however, Townsend was let go. And then only because Viggo's son was a fan of the series, He took on the role, went to New Zealand, read a copy on the plane, and there we have it. But there were two other people who were going to be this character.
The king.
I love those kinds of stories because now when you look back at it, nobody else could have been Aragorn.
Right.
I mean, he's literally perfect as the character. You know?
He was great.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, let's be honest, I didn't know Viggo Mortensen at the time.
Right.
He was, to me, a complete unknown. And I remember thinking, like, who is this guy? He's awesome. He was this warrior, you know, soon to be king, this leader. And he completely nailed the role. And to me, it was an unknown actor. And of course, then I've gotten to know him, you know, as Viggo Mortensen. And you look back and you're like, oh, he was in this and this.
He was Satan in the prophecy.
He'd been around for years. He just hadn't had that big break where we all got to know him by name, you know?
Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah, still celebrating Viggo and still talking Lord of the Rings all the time as well.
Boy, I love the Lord of the Rings movies.
It's great.
Yep.
They're all getting re-released this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Like a 4K treatment or
no,
something?
I mean like in the theaters. Can we throw that in the fish tank? I think there's like a big re-release of all three. Maybe it's like the extended editions are going to play in the theater for the first time. Something along those lines.
We got to get in on that.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, Ryan, speaking of amazing actors, I saw The TV Glow. I Saw the TV Glow is the sophomore effort from the highly interesting filmmaker Jane Schoenbrunn, who also gave us 2021's We're All Going to the World's Fair. It stars Justice Smith and Bridget Lundy Payne as two otherwise isolated young people who form a bond over their shared obsession for a television show, The Pink Opaque. The film follows the two as their lives intersect, drift apart, and then re-intersect over the course of many years, all while the Pink Opaque looms in their psyches. Eventually, the very walls of reality are called into question. Was it really just a show? Ryan and I sat down to watch The Glow to see if this movie will burn your screens or if you can't do that on television.
Each episode, they help each other fight a new monster from across the county. But it's way too scary for most kids.
If we're gonna defeat him this time, we're gonna need to harness the full potential of our shared powers.
Sometimes the Pink Opaque feels more real than real life.
Maddie, it was a TV show.
Are you sure that's all it was?
I Saw the TV Glow has a few major themes that I found fascinating, Ryan. Identity, especially gender identity, but not just that. Isolation, being queer in the suburbs, obsessive relationships, and the toxicity of nostalgia. It's that last one that I can speak to the best, so let me start there. In the movie, The Pink Opaque, which is the fictional TV show in the world, could be a stand-in for many 90s TV shows aimed at darker-minded teens, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer or Are You Afraid of the Dark, and a bit of Pete and Pete thrown in. We all long to return to the simpler times of our childhood. We all just want to spit into our cotton candy and watch it dissolve before our eyes. But as the film points out, the results are often disappointing and disgusting. There's a fine line in nostalgia between the comfort of escapism and the disassociation of total abandon. Just like medicine, doses must be carefully administered and monitored. Addiction and harmful side effects are not unheard of. This is on full display in I Saw the TV Glow. As we watch Justice Smith's Owen, the main character of the film, age through different parts of his life, the show that was at one time a much-needed place of comfort and belonging becomes a terror that threatens to crumble his reality. I found his performance to just get better and better as the film progressed. I was not as enamored with Lundy Payne as Maddie. They have a sufficiently cryptic performance, but it was a little less nuanced, and that's probably for the best that the character had a much smaller part in the film. Fred Durst, yes, that Fred Durst, should also be mentioned as Owen's dad. He has a tiny role, but it was effective, and I had My Way or the Highway stuck in my head for the whole rest of the evening. The TV Glow is a fucking weird movie that will stick with you. It raises far more questions than it answers, and rather than the picture getting clearer as we move forward, it only degrades more and more like a worn-out VHS tape. I think that was the visual and stylistic point. This is one that makes for an odd walk home, so I want to start there, Rye. How was your walk home?
Oh, my walk home was delightful because I love movies like I Saw the TV Glow. I like how Jane was able to put me into a trance-like state watching the film. I felt the two teens, Owen and Maddie, were in a trance-like state watching the Pinko Peak. Mm-hmm. And I was, as a viewer, watching this movie, which I love that whole vibe that they were able to create. I want to see the Pinko Peak on Netflix, season 1. That would have been a great way to market this film if all of a sudden, even if it was like 4 episodes or something.
Yeah, with like super cheese.
Right?
Yeah.
Would have been so cool. I saw this at a packed Music Box theater. It was my favorite theater going experience of 2024 so far. I mean, unbelievable transgender film. I mean, Jane, who is transgender, clearly talking about her isolation growing up in the suburbs and things that they experienced as a teen, and then probably looking back and realizing their identity,
right?
So forth. That's clearly there.
Both main characters are a stand-in for the filmmaker.
100%.
Right.
And yes, the music. One thing you didn't mention is the soundtrack, and Jane was on hand at the Music Box for a Q&A after, and the music is all original, and they really wanted to bring that back, the original soundtrack. Nowadays, we're getting a lot of great needle drops, but they're already of existing music, and they put that together. But the art form of the original soundtrack has almost been lost to some degree. I remember the Romeo and Juliet movie with DiCaprio came out.
Baz Luhrmann?
Yes, and that had an original soundtrack. And
sure, The Crow.
Yeah. There's a Radiohead song on the Romeo and Juliet that was never released anywhere else other than on that soundtrack. And that's gone nowadays. We don't get that too much, but we do get it with I Saw the TV Glow. Do need to note how awesome the music is in this movie.
Pretty good. It's not my cup of tea. It's very like, at first it starts out as like Cure-ish, like 90s goth, and then it goes into like a more like seriously heavy emo goth, like almost screamo metal, which is all good. It's better than 99% of what's on the radio. It's just not my particular flavor of underground music.
But there are 2 scenes in this movie that literally become basically music videos for about 3 to 4 minutes in the film, and I love that choice.
All right, there's 2 bands on stage. You like the first one or the second one?
Man, tough call.
I go with the first one all the way.
I would say go with the first one all the way, but the second one, there's a lot more screaming, and it's way more intense.
It is.
And I felt myself like gripping the arm banister at the Music Box. And I love when that happens, when the film is washed over me so much that my body is like tensing up watching the performance of what's going on. It felt like I was watching a rock concert.
Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It really was.
That was a good scene.
And yes, the visual aesthetics that you talk about in the film are fantastic.
Right.
And again, I love the music that accompanies them. So all around, huge fan of I Saw the TV Glow. That's my walk home. Huge fan.
Yeah, that was your walk home?
Yeah.
Jesus, man, what a walk home.
So,
mine was absolutely surreal. The moment I walked out of the theater, I didn't feel like I could trust anything. You know, like everything suddenly took on like a slightly sinister, I don't know, like just point in the universe from my perspective. Like, I was at the Alamo Drafthouse, which if you haven't been there in Chicago, it's a bit of a trippy place when you walk out into that old video store. And
right. It's
so,
actually a good way to walk out after watching I Saw the TV Glow.
It kind of was. It was weird. And then even just to walk home, this movie took me a minute to recover from, in a good way.
Yeah, it's really good. And you're right, Justice Smith.
He is amazing. I love him. As I think back on his career, there's been some cheesy movies. I love the D&D movie, Say What You Will. And then you got Detective Pikachu, again, Say What You Will. He's been great in everything he's done. Even that crappy Shattered movie, the one with Julianne Moore. And
I forget the name of it.
Winter
The Apple
Soldier.
TV one.
Yeah. It was a terrible movie, but he's great.
I agree. He was good in there.
Love this guy.
But, so you didn't like Bridget Lundy Payne, who played Maddie, as much. I didn't have an issue with her. I really liked her style.
I wouldn't say I had an issue with her. I just maybe it just falls flat compared to him.
Could. But I found the leads both fine. I thought both were very strong. So.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
I don't have enough to argue on that.
And Fred Durst, bizarre that the casting was. I wasn't 100% sure it was Fred Durst, to be honest. And then during the Q&A, it came up right away. They're like, yes, that's Fred Durst. I'm like, wow. Bizarre to have Fred Durst in
I didn't know it was him until the credits. I'm like, who the hell is that? Why do I know that face?
Mm-hmm.
And then the credits say Fred Durst. I'm like, holy shit, that was Fred Durst.
Yes. But it
Weird.
makes sense.
It does. He's done some acting.
Right.
I mean, he's done some acting.
Yes.
And he's Fred Durst.
So the Pink Opaque, this television show that they watched, you had mentioned Buffy, and that's exactly what Jane talked about being somewhat of the inspiration.
Right. It's a Monster of the Week show.
Right.
Yeah.
They talked about that during the Q&A and saying what fans Buffy, they were of Buffy. And I never watched Buffy, but I did want to start there with a question of if you have a TV show that you were obsessed with like they are in the TV Glows.
I embedded it in my review. It's You Can't Do That on Television, which is a cult hit that was, at least parts of it were lost media for the longest time. Now, much like in this movie, you can find it on streaming, and it may not be as great as we remember. It may be. I mean, I guess it depends on you. I loved You Can't Do That on Television. That's what gave Nickelodeon its feet. You don't get Pete and Pete without You Can't Do That on Television. You don't get Double Dare with You Can't Do That on Television. And you definitely don't get anybody slimed without You Can't Do That on Television. That's where it all started. It is the proto teen variety show on Nickelodeon.
I hate to tell you, I've never seen it.
It's your loss, pal.
I know. Sorry. But what you're talking about is something that I do want to concentrate on that TV Glow was able to achieve. Much like that Skinamarink last year reminded me of what it was like to be afraid of the dark as, a 5-6-year-old in my house. And I forgot that I had that feeling in me and that brought it out on me. I forgot how much fun it was to be obsessed about a television show that you had trouble maybe seeing all the episodes, or you didn't know if other people were into it. Because nowadays it's just so easy and everything's
YouTube now.
Right, everything's so accessible that I never thought about it, never had that feeling. And this movie really did capture the bizarre love that I had for the X-Files, which is my obsession. And this goes back, I'm a teenager. I'm at home. I want to watch the X-Files. And
I had no idea. I never knew this about you.
Our living room television, the contrast was kind of broken. So if you were watching anything like live sports, you wouldn't notice it. But if you were watching something that was taking place in a dark scene, it was way too dark and you couldn't tell what was going on. And of course, the X-Files, every episode, the main thing happened in the dark. It was a monster movie, something going on, and the flashlights with Mulder and Scully. And you couldn't see what the hell was going on, which almost made it more intriguing because there were, people yelling, Fox, Dana Scully, Scully. And I didn't know what was going on. And no way my dad was, going to buy a new TV.
For a new TV.
Yeah,
no.
he was paying for a private high school. You watch the X-Files on a dark TV, I don't care. But the beauty of that was it wasn't streaming anywhere, and I didn't know what was going on. And if you know the X-Files, and I'm sure there's jawheads out there that were fans, they were Monsters of the Week episodes, but then there was the through line of Mulder's sister being abducted by the aliens, and if the U.S. government's working with the aliens in some facet. And it was tough to follow because I jumped in and who knows what episode. And then you'd had to go back and rent these episodes in video stores. There'd be 3 on a tape, And my buddy Ken was big into it also. And he'd, call me hey, they're doing a marathon on the X-Files on such and such cable station, And I'd record them all. And then I'd have to check what I was missing and trying to put it all together, the timeline of this.
Did you have one of those like pegboards with pieces of yarn connecting?
I didn't go
everything?
that far.
Okay.
But literally, I think I have the first. This is when I would tape television shows off of TV. I still have them in storage. I probably have the first 6 completed on that I just
Seasons?
taped. Yeah, that I just taped off of TV because I was so obsessed with watching it and understanding the X-Files.
All right, man, you got me beat.
So that was mine. Bring KP in on this one also. A little bit different because KP is younger. So came up during the internet age. I don't know. KP, what do you got?
So the most I have ever been obsessed with a TV show was like 6th grade through, honestly, the beginning of college. And it's fucking Naruto. I loved that. Like, I got bullied for a reason. I'm going to throw that out there. The amount of like anime wall scrolls I had of this, like the amount of t-shirts that I had from this show, I would obsessively read. This was like the cool part
manga
for me because so my dad would always get imported manga. So like we would get the Japanese ones, and like that was the best part of going. I bounced around between parents as a kid, and when I was at my dad's house, I would always get all the good Japanese stuff. But then you also had the internet, right? And there was this.
Can you read Japanese?
Not well.
Okay.
Enough for Naruto. There's pictures too.
Fair enough.
But the internet was out, but we still had to do this thing. Okay, and this is going way, way, way back in the day. Early streaming, super illegal. You could go to, it was called animefuel.net. And like they would have mirrored bootlegs of what aired in Japan within like 6 hours. So we used to wait on like your Windows XP computer with the big tube TV sized monitor just to watch some frickin' Naruto. I mean, and talking about like realizing different transness moments from when you were younger, early on in like the first arc of Naruto, if you know, you know, there's this character Haku, gay as all hell. And I, at the time, I like, this was my favorite character. Such complicated feelings, didn't know anything about it. And like only stays in that first arc for the most part. They bring him back a little bit. But was like my favorite character. And it's so...
Looking back,
yeah,
makes sense.
Yeah. High highs in that show that totally compensate because there are absolutely moments that it's really low. But yeah, what a great show.
Awesome.
See, we all have that.
Yeah, and that transitions back into TV Glow because there is that with this character in TV Glow where they're looking back at these moments of watching the Pink Opaque and realizing something about themselves that they didn't realize at the time.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
What's most fun about this movie, and I think when you walk away, what you'll be thinking about is, was it a show or was it something else?
Right.
Was it deeper? Was one of the characters insane, or was the other one insane, or were they both insane? There's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And you know what? It all doesn't really even matter.
It doesn't. Because at the end of the day, the movie's just so damn good and interesting that anybody can go into this movie and have their own takeaway when they come away from the film, and there's no wrong take.
One nitpick.
Oh, we're going to get to these.
Oh, okay, you got some nitpicks.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I mean, we got our that would never happen moment, right?
Okay.
You have one?
I couldn't think of one.
Well, you
because the whole movie would never happen.
But I was going to say very much like David Lynch when I saw Mulholland Drive the first time. I was like, I don't know if I totally understood it, but I loved it. Very much that vibe of TV Glow. Like I can dive deeper and I want to understand more of the film, but I loved it on first. Just the presentation of the movie is incredible.
Yeah, same here. I felt like I got what they were going for.
Mm-hmm.
But
what was your nitpick then?
Okay, my nitpick is this. And it's a bit of a spoiler, so I'm going to dance around it. I'm not going to spoil anything. There's a scene with a character having a breakdown alone in a bathroom. That's not a spoiler. This actually happens more than once in the movie, but this is toward the end of the film. And I'm just going to say that something is revealed that is within the character.
Right. Beautiful moment.
Totally saw that coming. I was like, of course this is watch what's going to happen.
Sure,
there it is.
That's fine. It was a beautiful moment.
No, come on.
Don't give me cool.
Don't give me what I expect. Subvert my expectations.
I loved it.
No.
Totally. I actually have a that would never happen moment.
Oh, good.
And granted, this is a minor that would never happen, but at one point Owen, this is the younger version of Owen before it's played by
Justice Smith.
Justice Smith.
That kid was great too.
Oh, he was excellent. Can we throw that in the fish tank? Who the younger version is of Owen in the movie? Great job by the kid. He
doesn't look a damn thing like Justice Smith, but we'll forgive it.
It worked.
It's fine.
He had to go over to Maddie's place and had to say that he was going to spend the night.
Right, he was sneaking out.
Right. He tells his mom that he's going to spend the night at a friend's, but he goes to Maddie's. They watched the show for the very first time, and he's enamored by it.
But his first time.
His first time watching it. And then he's going to spend the night at Maddie's. He brings a sleeping bag. And they're in a room with a couch. And he puts his sleeping bag on the floor behind the couch.
That would never happen.
That would never happen.
That would never happen. There's a couch right there.
Why would you sleep on the floor when there's an open couch right there?
There's a couch. It's right there.
That would never happen.
That would never happen.
Granted, he's a kid and he doesn't know what it's like to sleep on the floor. And I know it doesn't hurt you as much as a kid. But as an adult watching that, I thought, oh my God, my back would be in pain if I was sleeping on it. Get on the couch, kid. Get on the couch.
That's a good one.
Yeah. How about a jaw-dropping moment?
The ice cream man. Boy, was I not expecting that. And maybe I should have been, because I have since watched the trailer, but holy crap. They're flashing back to watching the show, and they talk about the villains, and then they show the ice cream man for the first time. Freaked me the hell out. Really was like an unexpected bit of like body horror gore.
Yeah.
It was weird.
For my jaw-dropping moment, I was teetering with picking one of the musical moments because I liked them so much.
Yeah, they were good.
But I ended up going for this montage in the film where Owen is talking about, at this point, he still couldn't see the pink opaque, but Maddie is now taping all of the episodes for him and leaving VHS tapes in his locker, and he would watch them. And there's this montage of all the titles of the tapes being written on screen in this like fluorescent kind of marker colored, bright colored marker.
Pink, which is like one of the
through lines.
Yeah.
And you got this music playing and all the titles going. And I remember thinking the movie's soaring at this point. It was literally hitting on all cylinders because the way it looked, the aesthetic, the drawing on the screen of the titles, the music that was playing,
90s,
everything just perfect, literally pitch perfect. I'm like, holy crap, this is great shit. I just was watching it, just nodding in approval. Loved it.
Yeah. How about a movie poster quote?
I went with, let yourself fall under the cinematic trance that is TV glow.
All right. Mine is both a love letter and a cautionary tale of 90s nostalgia.
Matt, I'm going 4 Jaws for I Saw the TV Glow.
I got 4 Jaws as well for I Saw the TV Glow.
A double 4 Jaw review.
I will say this is probably not for everyone.
I agree. I was talking to Pat McDonald, and Pat being older than us, he actually said, I just think I'm a little bit too old to jam into this movie maybe. He was like, I don't know. Something was missing for me. And I thought I could see that. It's not going to click, I think, for everybody, but I think when it clicks, it clicks.
I think you have to be at least somewhat connected to the 90s.
Yes.
Pat may not be.
He's more of a...
He was already a grown-up.
Yeah, I mean, he was telling me he remembers the first time he went and saw Star Wars. I mean, he was driving already at that point. So, I mean, he was a late 70s guy.
Jeez, yeah.
Good old Pat.
Good old Pat.
But anyways, listen to us, aging Pat.
Yeah,
out. Next
poor
time,
Pat. He's going to be like, screw you guys.
If you see him jawheads on the street, don't tell him we said all this.
No, I don't think he's about 25.
Yeah, young, Great smile on that guy.
He's an amazing performer, too. What a talent.
4 Jaws for I Saw the TV Glow from both Rye the Movie Guy and from Matt K. If you see this movie, hit us up on Twitter at Cinemajaw or our email feedback@cinemajaw.com. We thought, I said teen angst movie. Matt said, no. Let's go teen angst horror best worst. So I'll let you start it. What's your best? And I know you wanted to put Heather's on that line.
I didn't even think of that.
I didn't
even think of that. I wouldn't necessarily call Heather's a horror movie. I would call it a black comedy. Damn, there are so many. I have a 3-way tie. Is that okay?
Wow.
I have a 2-way tie. I'm going to eliminate one right off the bat.
Who are you eliminating?
I'm eliminating Christine.
Okay.
I got a soft spot in my heart for that movie, but really doesn't compare to these other two, if we're being honest. The Lost Boys and Donnie Darko.
Wow, Donnie Darko made it.
Yeah.
It was an honorable mention of mine. I had it on my list.
I could watch those movies. Like, those are desert island worthy movies. Like, especially Lost Boys. If you put, like, gun to head, you have to choose one of these movies. I'm going Lost Boys. But Donnie Darko is freaking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just maybe not one I want to rewatch every single day because it is kind of dark.
Right.
But, man, both great. Good mystery, too, in Donnie Darko.
I agree, but in a way, can't you almost relate? I saw the TV Glow
Very much so.
very much to a Donnie Darko.
Yeah,
right.
Because they're both surreal. They're both like a bit of a mystery that you're trying to unravel.
100%.
Yeah.
So I thought Donnie Darko right away, and I thought, oh, let's not go there right away. Let's see what else I got. And a movie hit me that I watched last year. This was like, I'm watching it later in the night. Like, I already watched my movie that I wanted to watch. And I was like, all right, I heard good things about this. And I put it on and I ended up watching the whole thing and enjoying the hell out of it. And it's 2000, this movie came out. It's called Ginger Snaps.
Yeah. Really? What,
Yeah.
with Ginger Snap?
Yeah. So I thought, let's talk about this because I don't know if we've brought it up on Cinemajaw, but
Jeez, I don't think so.
two.
It's a werewolf movie.
Yes. Two teenage sisters. One of them gets bit by a werewolf and slowly turns into
Like
a
you
werewolf.
do.
It's obviously a metaphor for menstruation, but the two sisters. This is a funny movie. Angst horror, but it's a horror comedy to a degree. But there's
Yeah, those
angst
are the
in there
best.
as well. So
Yeah.
this one fits in there. Might be flying under some radars. I see it streaming on numerous platforms out there. So if you do see Ginger Snaps, well worth a spin. It's become a cult classic.
It sure has. It really has.
Picking a worst on this was difficult. I had to do some major research on this. This took me, honestly, probably like 2 hours of looking around.
Really?
Yeah. Because I was like, I got to pick something really bad.
All right, then let me go first. Because honestly, I had a tough time to the point where I kind of just gave up. This is like probably one of my favorite genres.
Right. So you're going to be a fan of all these movies.
I'm a fan of all of them.
I was going through and I'm like, man, I don't see one that I can legitimately come on Cinemajaw and say that's a bad movie. But I
Right.
found one.
Okay. I'm picking one that is probably going to get me hate mail, and because I think it's beloved. But if we're being honest with ourselves, it's beloved because of how cheesy it is, and it's probably because you fell in love with some of the girls in this movie, and I'm talking about The Craft. It's a guilty pleasure. Parts of it are effective.
You are
but
going to
it's-
get some hate mail.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's dated. I don't think it's held up as well as some of its other contemporaries, and I don't know if it quite deserves the cult status it has. I said it. There, I said it.
I have never seen it, so I have no comment.
never saw The Craft?
I never saw The Craft. I know Nev
Whoa.
Campbell's in it.
Now, you're going to get hate mail.
I've always wanted to see it because it pops up as like a cult classic, like you're saying. I'm like, I should check it out at some point. But
Oh,
now,
yeah, you should.
Well, you're telling me it's the worst. I'm not going to watch it now.
It's the worst out of movies I love universally. Like, if I had to pick one, I'm going with The Craft.
Well,
What'd
all
you
right.
get?
So for mine, I looked back at it and I was like, oh my God, when I finally came across this movie, I'm like, this is it. I'm so glad. It came out in 2017. It's got Joey King and Ryan Felipe.
Wow, that is a weird cast.
And the movie is Wish Upon.
Oh, yeah, dude, I thought about this one. We liked Wish Upon.
It's not that good.
No, it's not that good.
Especially now that I can look back at it. I'm like, yeah, this was kind of crap.
Well, Joey King's really good, though.
You get a music box that promises to grant the owner 7 wishes. Skeptical at first, Claire is seduced into the dark powers of this box. It's cheesy. This fits as
It's Monkey's Paw.
this is one where you can say, all right, this was a bad movie. You can't go back. It's worse than The Craft.
Oh, well, I don't know. It's definitely not worse than the. Let me try to phrase this correctly. No, The Craft is probably better than this movie, but The Craft also promises more. It's put upon a pedestal, whereas Wish Upon, people forgot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I thought Wish Upon was kind of decent. I like Joey King. I thought it had some interesting premise. It's basically like Final Destination meets Hellraiser with a lot dialed way down.
You're really selling this thing way
down.
too high, buddy.
No, it had some interesting points. I liked it. If you go back and listen to my review, I was high on this movie.
I'm interested to hear what we had to say about it.
2017.
Now, as I remember it, it's amazing to say that was 7 years ago. It does not feel like 7 years ago. But now 7 years have passed. I look back at Wish Upon like, oh, that was crap.
Go back, because I bet you were high on it too. All you got to do, Jawheads, and then this was not a planned plug, but if you're curious like I am, hit the search, the little magnifying glass, and you can search Wish Upon, and it should come up.
And that's on our website.
On our website, cinemajaw.com. Yep.
Nice.
Do it.
All right. We are going to take a quick break. We still got another review of Back to Black.
I'm excited.
And
Amy Winehouse.
Also her best worst musical biopic, which I thought was kind of difficult to come up with for sure, you know? Plus some trivia. Stick with us, Jawheads.
Let's all go to the lobby.
Viggo Mortensen month rolls on. My clip that I picked here, Jawheads, comes from Captain Fantastic. And there are some people that don't like this movie as much as I did. I know the year it came out, it was near the top of my best of list. And in this clip, to remind you, Captain Fantastic, we got Viggo Mortensen's family lives in the Northwest woods away from typical society, and his wife dies. And in this particular clip, he's having a conversation with his sister, who thinks the way he is raising his kids is completely wacky. And that's when he decides to show his sister just how knowledgeable his kids really are.
You sound so ridiculous.
Is knowing how to set a broken bone or how to treat a severe burn ridiculous? Knowing how to navigate by the stars in total darkness, that's ridiculous? How to identify edible plants, how to make clothes from animal skins, how to survive in the forest with nothing but a knife, that's ridiculous to you?
Jesus.
They have the cardiovascular and muscular endurance levels of elite athletes.
Who cares? They're children. They need to go to school. They need to learn about the world.
Justin! Jackson! Would you please come down here for a second?
What?
How old are you now, Jackson?
13.
Can you tell me what the Bill of Rights is?
What something costs, I guess.
It's a good guess. Justin, you're in high school?
Yeah.
Do you like your school?
It's whatever.
Do you know what the Bill of Rights is?
It's a government thing, right? Like rights that people have in America and stuff.
Yep. Hey, Saja?
Yes?
Would you please come down here a moment, sweetie? I wanted to ask you a quick question. Saja just turned 8, by the way. The Bill of Rights.
Amendment 1. Congress should make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of...
Stop. Regurgitating memorized amendments isn't what I'm asking for. Just tell me something about it in your own words.
Without the Bill of Rights, we'd be more like China. Here, at least, we don't have warrantless searches. We have free speech. Citizens are protected from cruel and unusual punishments.
That's enough.
Are protected...
Wait a minute. Saja, how would you characterize the 2010 Supreme Court decision on Citizens United?
Corporations have the same rights as people, so there's no spending limit on candidates. Which means a country is ruled by corporations, and their lobbies to fund candidates and command their fealty by demanding...
Jesus Christ. You made your point. We get it.
Sparkling drinks, it all colored dandy, 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 dandy.
And we're back on Cinemajaw. We were talking all about I Saw the TV Glow, but we also threw at least one thing into the fish tank. So why don't we open it up and let KP swim to the surface?
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, get some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hello, it is so nice to be out of the fish tank this week. Man, and I gotta say, we are like We joked about it at the beginning, but I really think that Lord of the Rings and Viggo Mortensen have like a shared identity because our first question is Lord of the Rings related. And it is, I just wrote, what is the Lord of the Rings re-release situation and what is happening? So there is a Fathom event that's coming to like AMC's and Regals and Cinemarks, whatever you have, in June, early June, no less.
Oh, nice.
Very soon.
So we're talking 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They are re-releasing, and okay, listen, I'm going to be honest. This one is either for mega nerds or people who have a lot of time on their hands.
So our listeners.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'm talking a lot of time here because not only is it the 4K Ultra HD editions, but it is the extended releases. So, like, a lot of time. These are like 3 different Snyder cuts. Like,
right.
You gotta commit.
I've watched the extended editions.
In a row?
Not in a row, but I have seen all 3 extended editions.
So have I.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it was a big deal that they released them, you know.
They're like 3 hours.
Even longer.
Yeah.
No, the normal films are 3 hours each. The extended are got to be close to 4 hours. I don't know if you...
They're outrageous. Some of them like pushing 5.
Yeah.
I mean...
That's crazy. Dude, I want to see that. I
really want of movie.
I really want to see it.
And as far as I understand, so the releases start Fellowship the 8th, Two Towers the 9th, and Return on June 10th. And they'll be screening for a little bit, but my understanding is that some of these are intended to be kind of marathoned. More power to you if you can do that. My uncle tried one summer when I was like 15 to get me to do that, and this is on DVD. This was before Blu-ray, and I was just like, we gotta stop.
It's too much rings.
I can't.
I can. I'm down for that long in Middle Earth.
And then our second one was who plays the younger version of Owen in I Saw the TV Glow. That actor is Ian Foreman, who plays the young Owen. He's pretty new in his career, but let's give the kid some credit. He is 12. And
oh, wow.
12 years old. And, I mean, it's not like there's no credits. 10 episodes of Let the Right One In, the TV show.
Okay.
So, like, not doing nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Off and running.
The kid was great.
He really was.
I mean, it's kind of a smaller role, but...
What were we doing at 12? Watching You Can't Do That on Television, X-Files, and Naruto?
Yeah.
None of us were in nothing at 12.
I agree. Was those the only questions we threw in there?
You got it.
I also credit You Can't Do That on Television for getting me into media, wanting to do, like, podcasting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Next week on the show, Jawheads, we have a guest joining us, Kyle from the Music Box. They have put together an unbelievable festival called Godzilla vs. the Music Box, which is going to be a humongous fest showcasing all kinds of Godzilla films over at the Music Box. He's going to come on, talk about the event.
Not just all kinds. Every Godzilla movie.
Is
Period, full stop.
24-hour marathon.
Yes.
Yeah, at one point, there is a 24-hour marathon with food trucks going on.
Right. He's showing every Godzilla film, period.
I mean,
not the bad ones. We're not getting any Matthew Broderick's.
No, I think he's showing
Broderick is showing.
Are we really? Oh, my God.
At some point, Broderick is showing.
The Godzilla films.
So we're going to talk to Kyle about this, how they got the rights to all of this. It's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
So we'll talk to Kyle about that. And the review next week is one of the big ones. It is Furiosa.
Yeah. It's a biggie.
Very excited to talk about that. I did want to mention this. We're already midway through May, getting near the end of May. So kicking off summer movie season good. Not one superhero movie, which used to be the staple, always a superhero film right in the beginning of the summer to kick things off. Are you missing it as a superhero fan, or are you okay with there's nothing on the slates?
I think what Disney got wrong with Star Wars is they didn't allow it to breathe. I'm a superhero film, and I will admit that we got to a fevered pitch around the time of Endgame, and I was addicted, and I wanted more, but it was diminishing returns. So no, I'm not missing it. I'm waiting for a good one. Like, give it some breathing room. Let's, we'll get something good. But like if another Matt Reeves Batman comes out,
then you're down.
Ooh, hell yeah, I am.
Don't get me wrong, I would be too. But it is interesting that we're rolling along with the summer, and it's like, wow, not even a superhero movie yet. This is crazy.
That's okay. I think it needs some breathing room.
A little bit of feedback. These were just small comments that came in via Twitter and such.
Love to hear from the Jawheads.
All on last week, Man vs. Animal. And we also reviewed Yuma County, and that's the first comment. Natural Film 89 wrote in, happy to hear a Yuma County review. I think this is one of the year's best films, and I feel like it's not getting enough buzz. Keep on jawing about it. People need to see it.
Wow. Thank you.
So that was good. And then we got two other comments on Man vs. Animal. One was from Ryan Fluger.
You've switched devices, Ryan.
Yeah, well, somewhere on different
platforms.
Yeah, so this is,
that's your Twitter phone,
right.
and that one's your Facebook.
Exactly.
Okay.
So this is from Twitter. Ryan Fluger says, best Man vs. Animal movie is the 1996 masterpiece Ghost and the Darkness. The original lions can be seen at the Field Museum. And he's right about that. It's got Michael Douglas in there, and it's like two hunters, and they end up getting hunted by the lions. And I know the lions are in the Field Museum.
You mean like taxidermied?
I believe so, yes.
Huh.
It's really interesting. And then we heard from, I'm not even going to say this guy's name. It ends in 3385. There you go. He says, Cinemajaw, my pick for best Man vs. Animal movie would be Arachnophobia.
Yeah, I toyed with that one for sure.
We should have at least mentioned that one.
We definitely should have at least mentioned that one. So good call, 3385.
Yes, there you go. It's like a stormtrooper, right? Yeah. Jawheads, if you want to comment, always you can hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. I'm on Threads, Ryan the Movie Guy.
Instagram,
TikTok,
YouTube,
anywhere. Yes, we're on TikTok.
We are on TikTok.
So you'll see the clips that we put on Reels.
And we talk.
Yes, we tick and we talk. So anywhere on any type of social media, you can get to us. So I think that's everything in the fish tank now. You can jump back in there, KP.
You bet.
The music biopic. The genre has been around for a long time, but in recent years, we are getting a handful a year. Everyone from Queen to Elton John to Aretha Franklin to Whitney Houston, all have gotten the big screen treatment. Up this time is Amy Winehouse in a film titled Back to Black. I hit the theater to see if this film is a yes or a big no, no, no.
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water.
Amy, you got a voice. It's one of the best I've ever heard. I like your tattoo.
I like yours.
You've got an eye for the bad boys, Amy Winehouse.
Thanks, man.
Stop making a fool.
You need to know this. I ain't no Spice Girl.
What do you think?
It's magnificent.
From primary school to sell out concerts.
Let me get to the two bright spots right away. First off, Marissa Abla did a solid job as Amy Winehouse. There are always going to be some haters, but I found the performance to be pretty damn good. And I really liked Leslie Manville, who plays Winehouse's grandmother in the film. I think their scenes together and their relationship was the highlight of the movie. As for the rest, absolute garbage. This is a paint-by-numbers biopic, and a bad one at that. I read a comment, I think it was on Letterboxd, perhaps, and it was said this. It called Amy Winehouse, it said, Amy Winehouse's Wikipedia page, the movie. And this made me laugh, and it is so true. The film goes over all the big points in her career, never getting that deep into any of them. And what is worse is how bland the storytelling is. If you're going to make a film about a unique voice and artist such as Winehouse, then go ahead and make it unique. Instead, Back to Black feels like a film destined for the Walmart $5 bin or a movie you'll find on a free streaming service with a load of commercials. I would not even recommend this to Winehouse fans, as I think they'll be disappointed by it for sure. What it did do is remind me of what a wonderful and heartbreaking documentary Amy is, which came out in 2015. If you have not seen that, do yourself a favor and watch that over Back to Black. Amy is streaming on Max and Hulu right now. I looked it up. Much better use of your time, Jawheads, than going to see Back to Black. This is no good.
Yeah, I was not really down for this from the beginning, man. So it looks like I picked a good one to skip.
Yeah, this was a good one to skip. There's no doubt. It's funny.
Sometimes I do that. I skip the ones that you should skip.
Yeah, I could tell that like nobody was really into them. One of the best parts is, you know how sometimes they got different things going on with these screens that we see. There was a radio station there, you know, one of the local stations
Loop or something.
Yeah. And so they were giving away some merchandise, trivia questions on Amy Winehouse and whatnot. And then at the end, some lady from the audience got up and started singing, you know, and it was one of those where no one wanted her to sing, you know, she's like, hold on, I wanted to sing this, blah, blah. I was like, what the hell, just start the movie. And she starts singing, and it's just awesome. Like, it's one of those moments in American Idol where you think it's going to be like, you know, garbage, and it's like, oh my God, don't stop singing, you're incredible. And then everybody's applauding in the theater. Well, that was the highlight of the night. Once the movie started, I was like,
no.
I was like, this crap, get that lady back on the microphone.
Yeah. Did this actress do any of the singing, or was it all like Amy? I mean, because that's a tough.
She does do the
shoe to
singing,
step
yeah,
into.
and her voice is very much like Amy Winehouse's voice, which was a very unique kind of like London/New York. It's the way I always thought of it, with that kind of like
Smoky.
slang. Yeah, that's, you know, just unique. It's the word that I always keep coming back to, and nailed the tone of it. I thought. It's one of those biopics where they really try to like get the image right. And really, let's be honest, does it matter that much if they look exactly like the person or not, or the tattoo's just right? And this film feels like they're focusing so heavily on that they're missing the much bigger picture about the heart and the drive of the artist. Instead, they're focusing on like, oh, look how much I look like Amy Winehouse, or how much I sound, you know, the voice sounds.
Well, you were talking earlier about Marvel fatigue or superhero fatigue. And I think the same can be said for the music biopic.
Oh,
100%. I mean, it's Oscar bait. It's like a low hanging fruit. They're like, even the good ones are kind of formulaic at this point.
Yeah.
You know, like Queen, Bohemian Rhapsody a few years back.
Yeah.
It's just okay.
I agree. I mean, I was looking back. I mean, there's been, because we're going to do our best worst
There's
here.
a few good
There's
ones.
a few good ones.
There are.
But a lot of them are like, oh, yeah, that one. And I'm like, I didn't even see the Whitney Houston one, but I know it wasn't well reviewed last year. I saw the Aretha Franklin one, Respect. I mean, barely passable, in my opinion. There's so many.
They're getting worse.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, okay.
Well, but except for Elvis, right? That was pretty decent.
But there were people who hated Elvis also. So, I mean, I liked it. I was in the camp that I liked Elvis. But, I mean, again, it wasn't like great, like we needed that.
And then we got another
movie.
Elvis with the Priscilla one.
It never ends. They just keep coming. And I think the other thing is when they're making them about an artist that's so recent in our time that, okay, the documentary happened, and now Amy Winehouse has only been passed away for something like 12 or 13 years. And it's like, now we got a biopic on her. Well, it's still fresh in our minds. Like, what?
Well, then you got, well, we'll get to it in our best worst.
So then the thing is like, I think, all right, maybe younger viewers, you always got to remember there's going to be somebody that's going to come up and doesn't know Amy Winehouse. And they're going to come across this movie at some point, at somewhere down the line. They're going to be like, oh, this is Amy Winehouse. And I think like, well, I hope to God that's not their introduction to it, because that's what makes me pissed about a bad biopic then.
I'm really curious what KP was wincing about.
Just the idea of that. Of somebody coming into a bad Amy Winehouse thing.
And it could happen.
But realistically, ideally, like the perfect world, that youth's Amy Winehouse reckoning, their Amy Winehouse awakening should happen at karaoke when that exact group of white girls start singing Valerie, because that's what happens at every karaoke.
That is so true. And I believe it's pronounced Utes.
Utes?
Utes.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? People could come into, you know, Amy Winehouse via this film, and that would be an absolute shame. So at least watch the documentary or get to know, the artist's music before you go into a crapper like this. That's why I hate when they make these kinds of movies. Like Amy Winehouse wouldn't like this movie, and it's about her. Yeah. She'd be down on it. So.
Bummer.
Yeah. I didn't do That Would Never Happen or a jaw-dropping moment, but I did give a movie poster quote for
All
this
right,
one,
let's
Matt.
hear it, Ryan.
And I went with Back to Black is no good.
All right. Yeah, that's where I thought you were going. How many Jaws?
1.5 Jaws.
That's a low grade from Ryan the Movie Guy. I don't think you even ever go below unless it's a really offensive movie.
It's got to really be bad. But 1.5, I definitely skipped this one, Jawheads.
Wow.
That brings us to our best, worst musical biopics.
All right. Yeah, okay.
Let's go out on a high note. So let's start with our worst. What do you got for worst?
Worst biopic, and this goes back to what you were saying, is Rocket Man. Now, don't get me wrong. I do like me some Elton John, and I don't think that the movie was terrible. But here's the thing, and I said this before in a TikTok. He's still alive. Like, why are we making a biopic about somebody who's still telling their story? Like, I don't know. Elton John could go out and become a freaking serial killer, and then that part of his life wouldn't be in the movie. Can we just wait till people die before we tell their story, please? That's there you go. I ranted.
I didn't hate Rocket Man.
I didn't hate it either.
This definitely wouldn't be on my worst.
It's a vanity piece.
But I do agree that whenever it's produced by the person still alive, I agree with you on that. For my pick, you got to go back to 2004. There used to be this actor named Kevin Spacey. And
never heard of him.
He played Bobby Darin in Beyond the Sea.
Really?
Yeah. And so it's the Bobby Darin biopic that I picked for my worst. And everybody knows Beyond the Sea song. Obviously, Bobby Darin's got a list of tons of films, but that's his music, but that's his most notable tune. Boy, this was absolute garbage also. And
he's a garbage artist. I mean,
he's not a garbage artist. Bobby Darin?
I mean, yeah.
Oh, I wouldn't put him in that. Come on.
All right. Maybe not garbage.
Splash, take a bath.
Yeah.
He was like way past his time, sort of irrelevant.
I mean, you got to still know the past, Matt.
I agree, but there are better oldies. It was kind of a novelty act.
So Kevin Spacey played him. He's smug. Just didn't like the movie at all. It didn't tell you anything more than probably what you would read very
surface
quickly.
level.
Yeah, on Bobby Darin. So I'd like to see it tackled a little bit better, maybe somewhere down the line. That was my worst, is Beyond the Sea. Now for our best.
So many to choose from. I thought the Jerry Lee Lewis one was pretty good. I also really liked Walk the Line with Joaquin, but I am going with Val Kilmer as Jim Morrison in The Doors.
I saw this on a lot of bad lists.
Really?
Yes. And I have not seen The Doors.
Maybe it's when it came out, but this movie hit hard for me and like my entire group of friends because
Oliver Stone,
nobody was listening to The Doors in 1993, right? This was when punk rock had broken and like Nirvana and grunge and all that stuff was huge. Nobody was listening to The Doors. The movie comes out. Bam, The Doors are back big time. I went through their entire freaking like discography and I'm like, wow, I love The Doors. But like, I don't know if I would have found that music had it not been for this movie. And I was a big Val Kilmer fan at that time. Still am. But like, I think this is when he was like really at the top of his game. Wonderful performance. This may have been the floodgate that let in all the rest. It was a slow trickle at first.
Right.
But this was the one I think you can point to and say really got the trend started. Because he got a lot of accolades for this role.
He did. I have this in my digital cloud, and it's been streaming, obviously on platforms a ton. And
never seen it?
I have it down, and I'm going to watch it, and I just never find time because it's rather long, too.
It's good.
So I got to find time to watch The Doors.
Do you like The Doors music?
I do. I mean,
I think that's the key to enjoying a biopic.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know many like super deep cuts, but I know The Doors pretty well, obviously, just growing up in pop culture. I know The Doors fairly well.
They're freaking good.
Yeah. My number one, my pick for best is Love and Mercy which is Brian Wilson and the Beach Boys.
Right. With
John Cusack.
Cusack, yeah.
So-
now, I haven't seen this one.
So this, what I want out of the biopic is do something different, do something creative. And in this one, they do two storylines. One is in the 1960s, and Paul Dano plays Brian Wilson in the younger version. And then in the 80s, it's played by John Cusack.
That's not confusing.
Right?
Because they look exactly alike.
No, but it really works because he looked older, at a time. And again, the point that I was making with the Amy Winehouse is sometimes it doesn't matter if they look exactly like the artist, as long as they have the spirit of what the movie and what the artist and the band or whoever was really behind. And I think this works best in something like this, where he was being sedated with drugs by a doctor who's played by Paul Giamatti in this movie. So it's able to tell you that, but you're also looking back at like the younger version of Paul Dano and what he was going through with his dad and brothers and the band and so on and so forth. And then again, in the later version with Cusack, he falls in love with a car dealership like saleswoman played by Elizabeth Banks. So the cast is great, and again, it isn't the typical paint by numbers. Hey, we're going to just hit the high points of the Beach Boys. It's going to dive a little bit deeper about the struggles that one person had about
it's going
addiction.
to tell an interesting story.
Yeah, and I love that. And there's been other good ones out there. The I'm Not There.
Yeah.
The Bob Dylan one where like 9 people played Bob Dylan, one of them being Cate Blanchett, which was literally awesome, but so cool. Do something like that, capture the vibe of the artist and give us that. I think those are far more entertaining and interesting type of pictures.
Agreed.
All right. That brings us to trivia.
Is that really?
Yeah.
Wow. We didn't do our best worst Viggo.
Wow. We did miss one. So we'll put it right here at the end.
Okay.
Best worst Viggo. Good thing.
All right. You want to go first?
I'll go first with my best Viggo Mortensen. Are you ready?
Yeah, because I don't have a worst.
Oh,
spoiler
you don't?
alert, no.
So my best Viggo Mortensen, yours is Return of the King, right?
It isn't.
Is it one of the Lord of the Rings?
No.
Okay. Well, I went with Eastern Promises, but if I had to be honest, Jawheads,
it's Return of the King.
It's Return of the King. Yeah. I mean, Return of the King's an absolute masterpiece. It's incredible. But I thought, well, Matt's probably going to have that. And then 2, I'm letting the Jawheads down because we talk about Lord of the Rings all the time. So I did want to highlight Eastern Promises, which is directed by David Cronenberg, came out in 2007, and he plays a fixer / kind of like the muscle for the Russian mob.
Yeah, that's a Cronenberg?
It is.
Wow.
And it has to do, Naomi Watts is in this. She plays like a midwife who gives, this woman comes in and has childbirth and dies during childbirth. And now we got this baby who we don't know who the father is. But again, this has to do with the Russian mob. And all hell starts to break loose. It's kind of a mystery, gritty thriller. And the scene I've always talked about is the bathhouse fight scene in completely nude, just disgusting, gritty, everything you want. And violent fight scene where they're just cutting people and on the floor of the bathhouse and fighting for your life. Awesome.
Cool.
And the tattoos on Viggo Mortensen, literally incredible. I mean, he looks like a badass in this movie.
I don't know if we were going to throw this in as a fact, but I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it. We've been researching Viggo a lot, and one of the ones I was toying with is from Eastern Promises. The guy's a bit of a kook. So he walked into a bar offset, and I can't remember exactly what country they were filming it in, but it was a place where they would know the Russian mob. And the way he was tattooed and dressed, because he went in full costume.
Oh, Jesus.
People left the bar because they thought like a high-ranking member of the Russian mob had just walked in.
Wow.
Yeah. What a guy.
Yeah.
My best Viggo, I obviously would go with Return of the King. If you made me say what's my favorite Lord of the Rings movies, I would actually say Fellowship.
Me too.
But I went with A History of Violence. Big fan of the graphic novel. I thought they did it justice. Viggo is very believable, very well cast as somebody who's just trying to live a quiet life, and the world of violence keeps encroaching and coming back in. And that diner scene, the first fight in the diner.
I rewatched that today.
Yeah, it's great. It still holds up, right?
It is. It's really good.
Yeah, he tries to get out of it, but then with the coffee carafe and just
goes into it. And you got Ed Harris in there.
Right.
And Maria Bello, I think is the actress's name. It's a good cast. I didn't know the graphic novel, and I remember really liking the movie. So Jawheads, either way, if you're a fan of the graphic novel or not, check that movie out.
Yeah, it's a good read, by the way.
You have no worst. You had a tough one.
Yeah.
So I went with a movie called 28 Days, in which Viggo Mortensen starred.
Oh, it's
with
Cillian Murphy.
No, that's 28 Days Later. This is just 28 Days.
I love this movie. What?
With Sandra Bullock.
Fast zombies.
You hate Sandy.
I know.
He does hate Sandy.
I do hate Sandy. And I mean, 28 Days, she's going to go into rehab. She is like a reporter or a writer of some sort. And she goes into rehab. Viggo Mortensen plays like a ex-athlete that's in rehab also. And the movie never really, in my opinion, never really commits to the fact of being like a real drama about rehab. It's too light on the surface. Can you make...
It's a rom-com.
Yeah.
They do trust falls, though.
Can you do a rom-com / lighthearted drama when you're talking about going to rehab? No, it didn't work for me. So that was my pick for worst. But this was a tough thing to pick.
Tough thing to pick, yeah. And here's the thing. I got some Viggo blind spots I need to fill in. But even though I have those blind spots, when I was researching it, none of them could be categorically said to be a bad movie. The guy just doesn't do bad movies.
No, I agree. I was shocked. I had to pick 28 Days because I could have said Green Book.
Green Book, but Green Book was up for Best Picture.
It won Best Picture.
Right.
It won Best Picture.
Right.
So it's like some people love it, some people hate it. But I mean, 28 Days, it's a crapper.
Okay.
Sorry, KP.
Andy Dick disagrees.
Andy Dick always does.
Yeah. There's nothing that guy agrees with. All right.
Trivia time. Also Viggo Mortensen, really rocking it out this week with Viggo. Question 1, are you ready, Matt? You need 3 or more not to be stumped. Heard.
In 1998, get a load of this, Viggo Mortensen appeared in 2 films. That's all in 1998. Both of them were remakes of Alfred Hitchcock movies. Name them both. And one was a shot-for-shot remake.
Psycho.
Yes, he was in Psycho. Shot-for-shot remake, that was.
98. Was that one of the years they remade? Oh, Carrie's not Hitchcock. That's King. It's okay. What Hitchcock movies were remade in the 90s? Psycho. It's not like Rope or Dial M for Murder. Dial M for Murder.
It was Dial M for Murder.
Nice.
It was retitled A Perfect Murder with Michael Douglas, but it was a remake of Dial M for Murder.
Okay.
Yes. Matt is on the board. 1 question in, 1 correct. Question 2 to you, Matt. Viggo has starred in 2 films that have won Best Picture.
Green Book.
And
Return of the King.
Yes. You only got that because I mentioned Green Book 1.
No, I knew it won.
Okay. 2 for 2, Matt. Question 3. Viggo starred alongside Demi Moore in G.I. Jane.
Really?
Yes, he was in G.I. Jane.
Holy
he played
crap.
like the lieutenant in there. Who directed that film? Hint, he has directed a film in the Alien franchise.
That's a short list. He has directed a film in the Alien franchise. Who did Aliens? Was that Cameron? Ridley Scott did the first one. I'll say Jimmy. Scott?
It was Ridley Scott.
Damn it.
Yeah, Ridley Scott
That was a
directed
toss-up
G.I.
for me.
Jane. You knew it wasn't James Cameron. Who are you kidding? James Cameron's not going to make G.I.
I didn't
Jane.
think it was Ridley Scott either.
He does Thelma and Louise. He's at least,
Yeah, this
you know.
is true. This is true.
He's got some range.
He does have range.
The James Cameron G.I. Jane would kick ass for the record.
Right? She would have had a bazooka.
Yeah, totally. Question 4 over to you, Matt. In 1990, Viggo appeared in Young Guns 2.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was a huge Young Guns and Young Guns 2 fan.
Same, yeah. The first one's way better.
Yes, but when I saw this in his filmography, I'm like, I got to go back and watch Young Guns 2. I can't even picture him
He must
in the
pop
movie.
up as a no-name bad guy, right?
No, I think he's in the gang a little bit that they were riding with. I got to see it again.
Is he a Young Gun?
So here it is. In 1990, Viggo appears in Young Guns 2. Who played Billy the Kid in Young Guns 2?
Oh, come on, man. It's oh my God. Hang on. He's a
5 seconds.
Emilio Estevez.
There you go. Matt is not stumped this week. He's got 3 already. Last question over to you, Matt. In 2002, Viggo starred in the dramatization about the Thai soccer team that got stuck in the cave. What was the name of that movie?
The dramatization of it.
Right. I'll tell you, the documentary was called The Rescue.
It's the number of days they were down there. 21 days.
It was the number of players or people that were down there.
9 lives or something like that?
13 lives.
13 lives, yeah. Great movie.
I know, it was shockingly really
amazing.
It was really good.
It was.
Yeah.
It was almost as good as the documentary.
I agree.
Really, flip a coin.
Yeah, we reviewed it here, and I remember saying we weren't looking forward to it because the documentary was so damn good.
Right.
But that's a case where both were really good.
Both really good. Although Viggo is just like, he's in it also.
Right.
Yeah.
Colin Farrell's in there as well, but
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really about the story, not the acting so
100%.
much. Yeah.
Wow, not stumped. You got 4 out of 5, Matt.
I'll take it.
That means you're buying beers tonight.
Is that what that
bet
means?
against yourself. We have it on record.
Oh, shit. I did.
Totally switched questions during the break.
Made them easy for me.
Removed. Yeah, there was
you
like...
heard all those clues? He directed a Alien movie.
There was originally
that's the one I got wrong.
3 Lord of the Rings films and 2 Hobbit films that Ryan omitted.
Yeah, I gave Green Book away earlier so that he would get that. I mean, you just went for it hook, line, and sinker.
Jesus, I'm a real sucker.
Never bet against yourself because that gave Ryan the opportunity to throw it too.
Yeah, and now even though I won, he somehow made me feel like I lost. You asshole.
Awesome.
Wait, you did that. You bet against yourself.
Yeah,
Ryan didn't do shit.
No, he did. It's his fault. I blame Ryan.
Son of a gun. Always my fault.
Yep.
Always my fault. All right. Brings us to the end of a great job. First and foremost, we got to thank KP, our producer, editor. Thanks, KP.
Thanks, KP.
Of course, we love being on Cinemajaw. 2 things. 1, there is another Pancakes and Booze. June 29th, follow me on Instagram at P_Chan_art. All the details will be there. It's always a good time. And then the second one, I am so sorry to Alan Tudyk. I had to look this up because it was occurring to me at the end of 28 Days, there's a scene where one of the other rehab patients kills a plant, and they're both in this plant store because that's one of the things they talk about in rehab.
Right.
That was not Andy Dick. And that was Alan Tudyk, who I love. Alan Tudyk is so great.
Right. He's no Andy Dick.
Could be better.
There is no insult worse than being confused for Andy Dick, I think.
So true.
Alan Tudyk would win a fight against John Lovitz.
I could see Alan coming in here and being like, "You called me Andy Dick." Write it. Just nails KP.
And I would deserve it. I wouldn't even feel bad. Well, because one of these people is incredible and the other is Andy Dick.
Hey, come on now. Andy Dick's got his... No, you're right.
We also want to thank the Patreons. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you want to join us over there, go over to patreon.com/cinemajaw. It would mean the world to us if you joined us there.
It would. And we're doing fun things over there.
Absolutely. Always. In fact, as soon as we stop record of this one, we are going to do a quick record for the Patreons. And it is our memory of seeing The Phantom Menace for the first time in celebration of its 25th anniversary.
Oh, this is fun.
So that is going to be on Patreon.
I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to do that in 2 minutes as soon as we get done with this. And lastly, a way to support the show is just leaving us a review or a 5-star rating wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And it's free to do that. And if you just you know what, randomly click buttons all around wherever you're listening to this, and I'm sure one of them will help us out tremendously. It would really help us out, and we would love that.
Absolutely. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt Kay.
And keep on jawing about the movies.